I'm not in LA this week. I'm in the workout room of my aunt and uncle's place in Palm
Great.
Springs. So that's what people are seeing on video. If they're only listening to audio, they're really missing this workout machine that, by the way, my aunt won from Wayne Brady on Let's Make a Deal.
Whoa.
How
I
about
was going to
that?
say, I think that kind of machine is very expensive because it does everything. So you have push, pull, you got it all there. It looks great.
She won it. I told her to go on Price is Right. Keep winning things. Mike, it's good to see you. Listen, we had our first sunset around 5 p.m. yesterday. Did you
Yeah.
survive that one?
Yeah. My kid wanted to go to bed extra early and was getting grumpy, and we couldn't extend it any further. So I think he almost went down at like 5:45. Yeah, it's time change. It's weird. It feels very weird out. I don't like it. I just want to stick to the normal time. But I also read something that if we stick to daylight savings, the time before yesterday, that it would just get dark super early or super late or something.
Super
Or no,
late.
no,
And then there's certain places like Boise. I heard that would have like 9 a.m. sunrises, which I don't mind that. I
yeah.
don't live in Boise.
I don't mind. Yeah, 9 a.m. sunrises. That's not too bad, but it would be kind of crazy. It would make you feel like, why am I up at 7 o'clock? It's like I should be sleeping till 9, but
Well,
who
listeners
knows?
might know I'm on my way to the Northeast, a little relocation situation here,
Yeah.
and apparently it's getting dark at like 4:30 in the
Nice.
Northeast, and it's cold and gray, and so that whole combination has me on some antidepressant watch
You're
already.
gonna be on the what is it, DPP or something? The dark
Deep dark
place.
place.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Dolphins have me there already, so I might as well just stay there as I move to the East Coast.
Also, I'm officially back from jury duty. I'm done. I finished my duty, my civic duty to America and LA County. I don't know if I think I'm allowed to talk about it now that it's over, like what it was all about. I
Mike,
think.
this is the most important topic on today's show is to get the jury duty rundown from you. Mike texted in the middle of the day today. He's out. He's free. I
It was
knew
great.
the jury room was cooking up some deliberations this morning. I know there was some emotions. Mike, tell us all about it because you guys came together
Yeah.
and you had a bunch of charges, but then something else happened too.
Well, I think also you go in there blind. You're not allowed to use your phone. You're not allowed to research. You're not allowed to like go on the computer and be like, oh, what does this mean? It's just like a group of random people with no guidance or organization. They just say, go in this room and come out with a verdict. And there is no instruction. That's it. If you have a question, hit a buzzer and somebody will come over and take the piece of paper and answer it for you. Like
Wow.
the judge or something like that. Yeah. So it's
That's
kind of
weird. So
interesting.
right off the bat, it's like you don't even know exactly what's going on, but you're supposed to make decisions.
Yes. So, well, we know what's going on. We know the charges and we know what the case is about.
Tell us
We,
about the charges.
so, four charges there's domestic violence, assault with a deadly weapon, robbery, and attempted murder.
That's a big one, and that's what had you up on the OJ floor, is what it sounds like.
We were up on the OJ floor for that one. But yeah, it was just it's an interesting case. We decided the first three were all guilty, but the last one we couldn't decide on, and we thought that was bad. We're like, well, we have to decide.
Yeah,
We kept voting, everybody was
yeah.
there. But we ended up going with, we were undecided, we were split 50-50, and it was a mistrial. So I guess that just gets thrown out of the current charges, and maybe I'm still not even sure what happens. I don't know if he gets recharged for that, or it's just like, well, you have these three, and if they want to go fight it or something, I have no idea. So that's what
Well,
happened.
first of all, let's break this down. It's not shocking that you were on a jury that came out with a mistrial because you are very argumentative, as we've done for 15 years on this pod. So I'm sure not everyone was swayed. But that's crazy to call it a mistrial. But you all agreed on the other three. You just couldn't go all the way. There must have been like a high level for attempted murder that you couldn't quite prove to the room.
I think it was hard because the way the case went, it was like people kept going back to like the statement of the facts that we have and like what is attempted murder. And there's like two lines. And if you have some reasonable doubt, which they kept saying, then it should be not guilty. And then if you everybody the thing also stated like everybody's going to have some kind of doubt. And that's okay because you don't know what's going through anybody's mind. You don't know anything like that. So to you, if you look at the evidence, you might be swayed and say, hey, this is attempted murder, but some other people were the other fence and couldn't do it. Also, it's like, it feels weird. Like, I will say, uh, I don't know why they let citizens do this. I feel really bad because it's like we don't know what we're doing, and you put us in a room and we have to decide the case based off the evidence and the
That's
lawyers.
exactly the point. You're unbiased. You don't
I
know
know.
these people going in.
I
You don't
know.
have
I
predetermined thoughts
know.
on the situation.
I
You go in
know.
blind, like you said, and you're supposed to form an opinion. But not everyone could have the opinion formed at the end. I
Yeah.
hope this man doesn't walk free after everything he did because you guys couldn't convince the room of what actually happened.
Listen, it was very much like we went around the room and we each spoke and had different ideas. And it just kind of, after a while, it's kind of like, you know, what I was telling our mutual friend, it's like, no matter who you're voting for, you're not going to convince the other side to vote the other side. That's never going to happen.
Right.
And I realized halfway through deliberating, we're never going to convince these other people. They're set in stone thinking this way. And that's why we ended up going in on this Monday. We could have maybe finalized it on Thursday last week or Friday or whatever.
You went
But
back today for the murder charge, like that last one, to try to figure it out.
well,
and you
also
still couldn't.
robbery. We figured out we didn't understand what the robbery in the second degree was. That's also what we had to figure out. Which
But
was
you all
interesting.
landed on an answer on that one.
We did right away after we got the definition of what second degree robbery was, and we understood it a little more. We're all like, well, I mean, there's only a few people remaining to come to the other side, but it's hard to convince people when everybody has the facts, but everybody interpreted differently. So it's hard. It's very hard. So
I like how you link it up to politics, where it's like everyone is kind of has their idea going in. But I thought you have to come out of the room, like you're not supposed to leave the room until everyone agrees on something.
So that's what we thought too. But then we found out each individual charge, you treat it as its own separate thing. So no matter what, it was going to get charged on something if we all agreed on something. But then the judge had to go around and ask us, like, do you agree that you cannot come to a determination of like what this charge will be if I give you more facts or anything like that? Or do you want to hear more of the case? And it's like, well, we have all the facts. We listened to the transcript and watched videos. We did our due diligence, and it's like, we can't decide. We don't know
You
what
were
it
there for
is.
weeks. You did more than your due diligence.
Yeah,
What do you
we're
feel,
done.
Mike? How do you feel about the people who didn't agree with you? I don't know if you want to exactly tell us where you were at in the murder charge and where they were. You don't have to if you don't want to, but how do you
Yeah.
feel about the people that disagreed with you?
I think the way it was presented and the way people interpret it, you can see different ways of doing it. But to me, I thought if charge one and charge two, which is domestic violence plus assault with a deadly weapon, if those two are true, how do I not say there was an attempt of murder? Because the way it was posed to us was, hey, if I go shoot Jeremy and I miss, that could be attempted murder, which I found kind of crazy. Like, I guess that is.
You attempted it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing, right? Like, that's the way I kept thinking about it in my mind. So yeah. So I don't know how much detail. I don't even know if we could be talking about this, but I feel like it's very vague.
I mean,
on what
Mike,
it is.
jurors do interviews after trials. They do
here-
exclusives. This is like our TSH exclusive with you. I think people can read about this in the LA Times tomorrow.
Great.
It'll probably be on
Yeah.
one of the first few pages. They can quote the Sports Hangover juror number. Do you want to give your juror
No,
number? out? Is that- Oh, we don't do that. We don't do that. Okay, not juror number. But we're giving you the scoop on this trial. That'll be in the LA Times tomorrow. Tell me this: we have a lawyer friend listening to the show. He spent his not his whole career because he really pivoted to that late in life.
Well, yeah.
But
partial career.
tell us about your view on law. I mean, is this all a great system coming out of this, or do you feel really lost that this is how things are decided in courthouses every day?
I would say it works well if you have somebody that can tell a good story, because that is all that it came down to in the courtroom. Because you didn't understand why they were going through all the details. I had no clue, right? They go like, well, why did you do this? And why? And you turned here and this came this way and pointed and had like maps and stuff. I think it's honestly, you get somebody in there that can tell a convincing story and a narrative to guide you in a certain way, then you're going to always win. But if you have somebody that can't figure out a good story and figure out a way to tell, because if the defense had a better story, I would have been like, oh, I fucking believe this guy. Like, look at who they brought up. Like, this is the eyewitness isn't trustworthy. But it wasn't that case. So I think it's just like, get a good lawyer, basically. Get somebody that can tell you a story. I think next time, if I ever need a lawyer, which I haven't needed one.
Well, you normally text our friend. Are you about to say you're not going to text our friend and get a good lawyer?
I think if I was going to get a lawyer, I'd want them to convince me for them to want to be my lawyer and give me a story. Like, sway me, because if you can sway me, maybe you could sway the
The person who committed the crime this way you. Okay, I like where you're going.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that. So it's all about
my take.
storytelling.
Yeah, that's my take from it all.
So it sounds like the defense did not have a good storyteller. He was just not as good a storyteller as the prosecution was really telling.
There
a great
wasn't much of a defense, and there wasn't much evidence that would say otherwise, that something did not happen, because it was very like, oh, well, there was a bush blocking the view of the eyewitness, but like you would see a picture and it's like a tree and the bushes are way up high on the tree and the window's right there. So it's like you can pretty much see everything. So I don't know. Some of it was silly, and also they didn't have anybody else come up and like testify on anything. So
They
yeah.
should have had more people testifying. Mike, you talk about the storytelling. I was thinking about being a lawyer when I was going into
Oh,
broadcasting. I was like, wait, presenting on camera is very much like presenting in the courtroom.
yeah.
You're telling a story, you're swaying people's opinion, you're giving them updates on things. And I feel like I have a great presentation style, so I could give a great story. What I don't want to do is all the hours and hours of
I know.
research that they have to do. I just want to be the presenter at the end who like comes in, takes it all in, and tells the story and has all the minions behind me doing all the research. If
Yeah.
that was what lawyering was, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, it definitely seemed very detail oriented, and you had to remember all the facts and like go over everything. So yeah, it doesn't seem that fun. It definitely felt like, ooh, this could be a TV show, but you had to cut out basically 90% of it because it's so boring half the time. But yeah, it was interesting. I hope I never have to be a juror again for at least another 20
I
years.
think you have a few years until you're on the hook again. But you're actually on the
I hope.
jury. It's so rare to actually be chosen. Maybe you get longer. Maybe it'll be like 10 or 20 years for real until you do
I
it again.
hope. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that'd be great.
Well,
What
that
do you?
concludes the Sports Hangover
Yeah,
Law and Order
law.
edition. Good 10-minute episode of our new law and crime podcast there. We'll get more into this as things go on. Mike, there was another guilty charge given out today. You weren't the only one dropping guilty
Who's getting
bombs.
guilty?
The New Orleans Saints dropped a guilty bomb on their head coach, Dennis Allen. He's guilty of ruining the franchise. Really, there's a lot of people in New Orleans guilty of this. We've been talking about Derek Carr's salary cap situation for years on this podcast. It's really bad. Did you know Derek Carr has 91 losses in his 11 NFL seasons, the most of anyone over the last 11
Well,
seasons?
he also lost to every single NFL team, the first quarterback to ever do that, which
We're
is
full of stats. It's so true. He's like
yeah,
the bottom of the barrel. And this is a guy who also gets hurt and misses games, yet he has still set both of those
I know.
marks with the 31 teams that he's lost to, and now this. And then we had a tweet storm of Michael Thomas criticizing. Did you see that?
Wait,
The old Saints receiver was criticizing
yeah.
Carr.
So I was gonna say, where is Michael Thomas? Like ever since his toe injury, has he ever played again?
I think that was like a career-ending toe injury, as weird as that is.
Because I remember it was like one season fantasy football. It's like, oh, he's coming in with a toe injury. Skip that season. Next season, kind of like started playing, then a toe injury again, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with your toe? Like, isn't it fixed by now? So I guess
Well,
he's
he
just
can
out
still
of.
tweet. His fingers are working if his toe isn't. He
Yeah,
was
I don't.
criticizing Carr so much on the hit that put Olave back in the hospital yesterday. Chris Olave might be done playing NFL football. He gets concussed as much as
That's a
Tua at
lot.
this point.
Yeah, that's a lot of concussion. I didn't know he had that many.
Yeah, a lot. What do you think of the Saints situation? Who's to blame for this miserable hell they're in?
I think it's everybody. If you go and get Derek Carr from the Raiders, which I don't, doesn't even make any sense why you would do that. I think that's your fault. If you're the GM, it is your fault. You were the one who put all these people in place. Um, I would say I believed in them a lot in the beginning of the season, especially after the first two games where they like blew everybody out, and then all of a sudden they just went downhill. Obviously, Derek Carr got injured. What's his name? Hill got injured a little bit too. Even he was scoring points yesterday.
He was. He
Which
might be their number one receiver the rest of the
yeah.
season, the way things are going.
So I don't know. I think it's really hard because you're coming off like Drew Brees, two years removed from Drew Brees, right? Somewhere around there.
A few years, and Sean Payton. It's like they were there,
Yeah.
and that's where you're going down the road. That's where I wanted you to go. Some of this needs to be pointed back at Sean Payton. He left the cupboard so bare. Mike, if I came to your house and stayed over, and then I left the ADU, the back unit, in
Yeah.
shambles, you'd be upset. J-Dog, what happened back here? You can't leave it like this. That's what Sean
It's your-
Payton did to the Saints franchise. And it's not okay that Mike Dennis Allen or Mike Bennett tried to come in and clean it up. It's not okay for that next person. It's a shame they get fired for it. But we all saw the writing on the wall because the cupboard's been bare. Salary cap's in hell. They have nothing to do the next few years except cut veterans and try to rebuild for like 2027. So they're saying this is the worst head coaching position in the NFL since the Houston Texans without Bill O'Brien and without Deshaun Watson. That's what people
So
are
is
saying.
this worse than what the Browns are going through right now with Jameis kind of coming back down to old Buccaneer Jameis, where he doesn't have LASIK surgery and throwing picks everywhere?
I
Or
mean,
'cause
this is a Jameis we've seen before. The Jameis we
Yeah.
saw yesterday was not a shocker, right?
No, it was not a shocker. We have every single week we do a bozo bet, which we started where we wanted everybody to bet every single week in our group chat, and we put together parlays, group parlays, 5, 10, whatever group parlays. Everybody throws out a random bet and we all bet it. And usually there's a bozo of the week. Our friend put in a bozo bet and all of us hit. All of us hit it except for one again.
Oh.
And we were doing so good. And I think the way I just feel like what's going on right now in the NFL, I just feel like it's hard to, I don't know. I feel like to me, I'm having such a hard time betting on the NFL because of how hard the games are to predict. Like I can't predict anything. Like everybody's all over the place. Like, are the Browns good? Is their defense good? I don't know. They don't look good yesterday, so I don't know. I'm
Like
just
this
all
is
over
how the
place.
casinos got built, by being hard to predict. We
I know.
all know that the
I know.
guys at home hosting podcasts are not typically stealing money from Vegas. As hard as we try, it's
try.
very hard to do. It's been another wacky NFL season. You're right. It's been very unpredictable. I know you are in a contest with me where we both pick 5 games a week, and Mike actually has 2 entries for our audience into this. One he's trying to win with, one he's trying to lose with. And I swear every week he goes 3 and 2 and 2 and 3, and it's like you can't tell the difference between the one he's trying to win with and the one he's trying to lose with. That's how tough it is.
It's so hard. And again, I'm going back. I'm blaming my son. I had a child.
yeah.
I'm
2
blaming him
weeks
on
in a
the
row.
terrible
Don't
betting.
forget that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, a
it's all
mutual
on him.
friend didn't want to say it, but he said it. He said it out loud.
It's on your son? He put it on the Red Rifle too?
Yeah, he put it on.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of blame on the Red Rifle this season. Yeah, the Panthers won a game yesterday. The Dolphins almost beat the Bills. Thank God that didn't happen for draft position. It was so weird. You mentioned Jameis. I'm sorry, but Jameis is a little bit of a Derek Carr with the stat I'm about to share with you.
Okay, give it
Jameis
to
threw
me.
career interceptions number 100 and 101 in yesterday's game. How do you have 100 interceptions in the NFL? How many years did he have bad eyesight for?
I think until he left the Bucks. He left the Bucks and he had just bad eye. Wasn't he? He was on the Saints for a little bit too, right?
He was on the Saints. He was
Yeah.
he was making headlines there. Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's in Cleveland. I don't know. I just like Jameis is bad. We don't know what's going on in the NFL. Kansas City's bad, but they win games and they're playing tonight. I really wanted to take Bucks money line, but I can't do it. It's just too scary for me. There's just a lot going on.
I don't like
it's a
that
lot.
line tonight. I know the game happened in the past tense for most of our listeners.
Yeah.
The line was 9. The Chiefs always play 7-point games all season, so I do think the Bucks covered last night.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not betting on him. Can we talk about the real gambling we came here for, Jeremy? We wanted to talk election. The election is tomorrow. Do people get like the day off tomorrow? Are they
No,
allowed?
which is crazy. Like, of all the random days we do
Yeah.
get off, why is election day, like, go vote, why is that not a day off? Also a day to watch the TV news, because we're all gonna be locked in no matter what.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited. So I signed up for, I think it was the only legal sports, not the sports, the only legal platform to bet on the election, called Kalishi or something. And I have no idea how they're the only legal one to bet on, but you can go on there and bet on who you think's going to win. And they verify all your information. They like took my social security number. They did everything.
Oh,
and you
is
can
this okay?
bet, like, I don't know. I can't really see that, but that is like, yes, Donald Trump. And you put money, yes or no, on who you want to win. And you can win money based off the odds that they
Do
give
we have
you.
a current line? Can you tell us the line on tomorrow night's game?
Yeah, so current line is 56% of people believe Donald Trump will win, and Kamala Harris, 44% chance, and that is based off $218 million worth of bets. I also have stats on it too, if you want to jump into it, because I feel like today and tomorrow, great time to bet. You're allowed to bet until it's finalized, I think. And there's also off-market platforms as well, because the odds swing.
Well, I was going to say, there's a lot of markets out there. Poly market is out there, but apparently Americans can't participate in poly market.
Which is
only
weird.
only foreigners, which you don't know where that foreign influence is coming
Yeah.
from. And then in your world, one cautionary tale I would just mention is what people might say is a lot of white men do the sports gambling in America. And we can say that's who's doing most of the gambling. And so maybe a lot of white men are influencing the polls. Now, 55, 56% on Trump, that's about where most people have it right now. If it's not 50-50, Trump might be 51, 52, 53%. So that's not crazy to say.
No, but what's weird to me is that the fact that the polls and the betting markets are similar in what we're getting from them, right? Like, we don't know who gets these polls. I don't know if they're just polling people in Pennsylvania because they don't care about people in California, and like, we're not going to poll you. We only do it in this one small town in Pennsylvania and call and do all this stuff. I feel like that's crazy to think about. Like, I heard something where it's like, if you're off by 1 to 2 to 3%, that's like millions of different votes, right? Something like that. And I don't know how we trust the polling so much because I feel like it's always been a little off. So I'm basing it off of like I'm gonna bet if somebody goes up big, I'm gonna bet on the other side because I think you can get a little money. Because the last time Trump was in the race, he went his odds like dropped and then skyrocketed as a favorite, and you could have gotten him at like 4-1 odds or something, and then went to -135. But
And that's an important point with all the states, obviously, are certifying their results at different times and counting at different times. Some allow a ton of mail-in ballot that are already counted. Some start counting the mail-in ballots like at 8 p.m. tomorrow. So it's all different based on the states. What it seems like happened in 2020 is Georgia looked like it was going to Trump. And so everyone said Trump's going to be elected, but the data wasn't fully in yet. And so you're going to see these swings throughout tomorrow night. It's going to look like one thing. I think we shouldn't get emotionally invested in that and let it play out a little bit more because it's likely to flip a few times. I don't think we're going to know Tuesday night unless it's like a blowout, but I don't think many people are expecting a blowout either way.
no, I don't think so. But here's some odds. So Donald Trump's odds have narrowed from 65% to 57%. Despite this drop, Trump continues to be viewed as a front runner in most markets. These are betting markets, not just like the polls. So the election betting markets, the activity was like popping. So over 58 million in bets were placed Friday morning through Monday. I actually placed a bet on Saturday. So I was part of that. Saturday and Sunday were the busiest days of the election since the inception of this app.
But you're telling me that he's gone down 63 to 57. So this late money, we're saying late money if we relate it to a sports game, is coming in on Kamala.
Yeah, and we don't know what that means. We don't know if it's sharps are coming in on her. I think it is. It's there's a podcast I like to listen to. I'm gonna give them a shout out. I really think these guys are super smart. I don't know what their deal is or why they do this podcast, but it's called Bet the Process. They're ultra nerds and they break down stats. They had what's the guy Nate Silver on that built 538.
Mutual friend loves that guy.
Yeah, I love him so much. But he had him on and they were talking about just odds and like the prediction market and how, 1%, 2%, stuff like that. So if you want to listen to it, I think the last episode was talking all about the election. Okay. I found it very interesting because why not bet on it, right? It's a 50-50 shot in a sense. And if you're getting better odds than 50-50 on somebody getting elected, I think it's worth jumping in and betting on it.
It feels like a Bills Chiefs game. It's like two big names at the top, and you never know how it's going to go, except it's always close in the end. And like the last play, whoever has the ball last, and it's like whoever has the state count last, who's like going to push them over the top. There are a ton of parallels in sports. Obviously, emotions are as high as any biggest game ever on both sides of it, and the supporters on both sides will see how they react. Sometimes there's violence after a sports event. Sometimes there's fighting in the streets. We've been known to see that with our friends ourselves, and so maybe that's likely to come again from either side. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but you're right. Nate Silver, right now, he spends all 4 years like working on the presidential election, all his models, all his data. He's at like 50-point-something% for Trump and 49-point-something for Harris. Like it's that close in all their polls. Are the polls correct? You can debate. Trump is never winning in the polls, so if they're 50-50 right now, he might win by a lot. It could actually go the other way. All the women this time, because abortion is such an issue, actually go away from Trump and go to Kamala. I am going to be watching.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us who you're voting for.
We could do that if you want. I'll be watching the coverage. It's a little bit of a red zone night, so I don't know if you heard this. Peacock is doing a multi-view for election night.
How are they doing multi-view?
With different sources coming in. One will be a Kornacki cam, an election board, NBC coverage, all that stuff. Of course, CNN will be doing coverage. Fox News will have their own slant on. So it's like I really like to bounce around on election night, get the feel from everyone, get the vibes. Sure. Sometimes you'll turn on Fox News and they're depressed. Instantly, what's going on. Or the same thing with MSNBC. And so we'll see if like the anchor expressions can give anything away tomorrow too.
Okay, I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm really gonna tune in. I feel like it's just like chaotic for hours, where they're just like, "Well, we're just receiving final ballots in this area, and mail-in ballots have not been counted."
Well, you can't overreact. That's the thing. You can place little wagers as you go. You can't overreact. Just keep the wine close. Keep the snacks close. It'll be great. I am a white boy for Kamala, Mike. I'll just come out and say it. It's important to mention on November 4th here where you want to be, if you want to be on the right side of history or not. And that's where I am heading into Election Day.
I'm on the other side, and I think it's kind of fun. I'm voting for Trump. I feel like it's very polarizing to even say it, which I think is kind of crazy these days. Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's kind of crazy. So I'm excited to see what happens. I've bet both sides so far, and it's all about betting for me. So
It's true. And people cannot stop downloading the podcast, like cancel your downloads because we both just pick two sides of the aisle. We are
Yeah,
well represented. Everyone is
yeah,
represented here. If you're voting on election day,
doesn't matter.
one of us just chose your candidate. So please stay with us no matter what we do.
Also, we're in California, so literally my vote does not matter at all. If I was in Pennsylvania, you might have to take me more seriously. But I'm in California.
We should have gotten some Pennsylvania access to vote in this election.
I want to go to these states and see what's going on. Like, why are they so well? Like, didn't Trump just like post up and Kamala Harris just post up in Pennsylvania for like 2 weeks and just
Yeah, I think
repetitively?
Trump's big closing rally tonight is at the Pittsburgh Penguins arena, actually, which is pretty funny. And then also, I think in Philadelphia, the other big Pennsylvania place, it's like Kamala and Katy Perry and Lady Gaga. Taylor Swift never came out. People kept saying she's going to come out and support, and she never did. What does it mean? I would love to know.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow after the election. I don't think we'll
We
find out
won't.
until
We
next week.
won't. Yeah, maybe next Monday we'll have an answer. Maybe like what? Maybe 80% we'll know by then.
I have no idea. I feel like last time it took forever, and then I still remember like the Florida hanging Chad thing when we were in like high school. Remember
know.
that? It was just like a mess.
That was
for
my county,
a
Palm
month.
Beach County. They really screwed that up. Punch through the ballot, people. Come on.
Also, I voted for. Did you vote on props in California?
Well, I'm not going to be in California for much longer, so
Correct.
I left most of the props to the real citizens.
Okay, all right, good. The
You
only
want to
thing,
share? You can share.
the only one I voted for was to stop making stealing $950 not a crime.
Oh yeah,
I reversed. I wanted to go back to the norm,
Go
the
back
old
to that.
ways. Yeah,
yeah.
Just don't
Everything's
steal
a
stuff.
crime. They walk out of Target with bikes. All the deodorant is locked up at CVS. Like I have to go get someone to get deodorant every time. It's like, what
Yeah.
are we doing?
Deodorant, Tide Pods are locked up, baby formula, everything's locked up. Just like if it was a crime, people wouldn't do it anymore. So that's where
know.
I'm at.
I agree with you. We agree on that.
All right, good. Yeah, we agree. They're very confusing. I had to go to a website to understand because the way they phrased it was like, was I hitting yes to keep this or yes to remove this or no to remove it? And, very confusing.
They were confusing.
Yeah.
Most people outside of California, maybe they have their own ballots. Florida has some big ones on the board if you want to analyze them.
No, it's all right. We don't have to break it all down right now. We'll see what passes.
I like how we relate it to a sports event. It really is. So watch the line, and if you feel
Yeah.
really strongly one way or the other, and you think like the odds are tilting, but you still believe it, live bet that action. Live bet election night for sure.
What do you want? Do you want to talk more bets? I got bets for this week, or you want to talk? What do you want to talk?
I want to get to your bets for this week. Can we do a quick J Dog takes on?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get a J Dog takes on.
Roll my music.
Do you want your music? Hold on. We haven't done music in a while.
You don't
Let me
have
see
music,
what
do
we
you?
got
Do you
here.
have it?
Oh yeah.
J Dog takes on.
Wow, J Dog takes on not related to election day, believe it or not. J Dog
Next week.
takes on next week. It will be next. J Dog takes on a sorry NFL franchise, one that is so broken by a stat that I saw yesterday. We've been doing stats on this show, Mike, and this stat
We're
is
stat
giving
guys.
this team the J Dog takes on. The Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls between Daniel Jones' most recent 2 passing touchdowns at MetLife Stadium, his home stadium. The Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls in between. Daniel Jones, you are not a real quarterback. Brian Daboll, you are not a real head coach. New York Giants, you are not a real football team. Fans of the New York Giants, you do not represent a real NFL team. None of this is real. If there was relegation at any point in the NFL, which we surely need to put coaches' asses on the hot seat much more often, so the Saints don't go down a road as bad as they are now. If relegation existed, the Giants would be out this year. I know there's bad teams everywhere. I know the Panthers and the Browns exist. I know the Dolphins exist. The Giants have been mediocre for so long. And then they do an off-season reality show because they think people give a shit about their franchise, which they don't.
think-
And then
It was interesting. It was interesting because of basically the downfall of the franchise.
because of how stupid they were, exactly.
Yeah.
They do the show and then they give away the secrets. It's like if you let your wife, for example, go on a reality show and just bash the shit out of you and come back and say, hey, how was my reality show appearance? You wouldn't be too happy. That's what the Giants did. They were all about getting rid of Saquon Barkley because they don't pay someone to hand the ball off. They pay someone to pass. They pay someone to pass touchdowns in your home stadium once every 3 years because that's what
agree.
Daniel Jones does. The Giants, you are being taken on and you should be relegated.
I honestly cannot believe he is still a quarterback and that coach is still a coach in the league.
I know, they're both there.
It's like, what is happening? Even Bryce Young was benched and he was the number 1 overall pick. It's like, you got to bench a guy. I know the backups aren't as good. I don't know if Tommy DeVito's still there.
You love that guy.
I know. Oh, isn't the heist guy? He's there too.
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock. No, Drew Lock is there, not Brock Osweiler. Drew
Oh,
Lock is there. Yeah.
Drew Lock is the modern version of
Yeah,
Brock
yeah.
Osweiler.
Yeah, Drew Lock's there. He could be a start. He honestly would probably play better because he has confidence.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't have confidence right now. Danny Dimes lost his confidence, and it's not good. Geno
And you
Smith
mentioned
also
Bryce Young.
lost.
Like that seems Bryce Young in the Panthers seems like the worst situation ever. And then
Yeah.
you think about Bryce Young took 3 weeks off. Red Rifle gets in a car accident, and Bryce Young beats a team. It's like Daniel Jones hasn't done that in his whole career, and Bryce Young could do it
It's
in his
tough.
second season.
Well, I'm not betting on him this week. So
I was gonna say now we can get to picks. All right.
all right. So we don't know what's going on with Tampa Bay tonight, but I am taking the San Francisco 49ers with Christian McCaffrey back.
Is he back? Is that real?
Supposedly week 10, he's going to come back. They're playing Tampa Bay next week in Tampa. I got stats for you. I'm locked in right now.
Okay.
Here we go. Over the last two decades, road favorites coming off a bye week cover at a 60% rate, including a 26-11, 70% mark as a favorite, 5.5 or more points. Also, Todd Bowles tends to struggle with teams he faces that he has more time to prepare for. So he's 0-5 against the team coming off a bye. 0-5 against the spread. So that's not
So
good.
he's worse the more coaching he does.
Well, more coaching. Well, I guess, yeah, he's just not prepared. So
Exactly.
Todd Bowles,
The more time he gets to prep for a game, the worse he is. And there's all these other stats. Like the most successful coaches out there, all are so good. Andy Reid is so good coming off a bye. That's greatness. The opposite of greatness is 0-5 coming off a bye. And that's Todd Bowles.
yeah. It honestly, betting's tough, so just fade me if you want. You could go 3-2 or 2-3, just like Jeremy says. That's how the bets go this week.
We'll go one or the other, at least.
The Jets at Arizona. I really liked what Arizona did last week. We didn't talk about it, but the Bears. Caleb, that man, emotionally, he's not there. He's throwing balls. DJ Moore's walking off the field like he's over this. I'm betting against them. No, I'm betting with Arizona this week because I think Kyler, he's hot. He's playing well. And I do not believe in the Jets. I know Devontae Adams tweeted out today. He's like, "Oh, it took some time to build Rome." That's what he tweeted out today.
Okay. That's a terrible tweet. Like, awful. Like, get traded before the trade deadline, Devontae. Like, that's your best bet to get out of there on time. The Jets won a game against the Texans last week on Thursday. That was another weird outlier of this NFL season. And then Kyler Murray. He's 3-0 in his last 3 games. He played like shit in that game yesterday. I was owning him in fantasy. That man had 4 fantasy points. He refused to scramble. He refused to throw it to Trey McBride wide open in the end zone. They're winning games with him struggling. I don't know what that tells me. Does it tell me that he's not a part of their success, or does it tell me that they're going to be even better when he actually plays better?
I don't honestly know because it seems like the team was relying a lot on the running game yesterday. Like I saw running backs I didn't even know were on the team.
I know.
I was like, who's that guy? Like,
They all
why is Connor not running? I need him to run for my fantasy team, not these other guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, this is all off vibes right now. I have no stats for that game. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I don't like what's going on there. Also, they haven't taken a vacation or a bye week since going to London. That's got to wear on you a little bit, right? You're week to week to week.
But they went away this weekend. They had the weekend off because they played Thursday.
But that's not a bye week. They played Thursday.
It's like a quick weekend.
Okay.
I don't know if I talked about this. Tyreek Hill went to Paris during the Dolphins bye week. They haven't won a game since. I think that's
What?
complete bullshit. No, you should not leave the country during a bye week
Why did he go to Paris?
to hang out.
With who?
His girlfriend, baby mama. He's got a bunch of them. I don't know.
Philly's at Dallas. I'm taking Dallas plus 6.5. I hate everything that's going on there. I did see right before the podcast though, Dak is dealing with some kind of like leg injury right now, and also a finger injury that took him out of
So
the
you
game.
might not want to bet against the Cowboys, is what you're saying.
I should I bet with the Cowboys?
Maybe if he's out, they might get
Well,
better.
I was gonna bet with the Cowboys because they're getting 6.5 against Philly. I don't think Philly is playing good football. They kind of look like they almost lost to Jacksonville.
I heard Trevor Lawrence had the ball on like the 10-yard line, down 5, about to win the game, and he threw an interception. That's what I heard.
Well, that's Trevor Lawrence. That's what's
Nick
going on.
Sirianni. Some people said he should have been fired even though they won the game yesterday. I fired him 3 weeks ago on the pod. I don't know, why he's still here.
I don't know. So, and it's also a division home dog. I
like
want
betting on the Cowboys because Cooper Rush might actually be better than Dak.
Sometimes those guys that step in are a little like surprising, you know. Just like this next game, I'm taking the Saints. I'm taking that new coach bump. I didn't believe in it early in the season. I'm believing it now because I saw what happened to the Panthers. The new quarterback bump. I'm doing the new coach bump. They're playing the Falcons at home. division home dog with a new coach. Blindly bet it. Easy money.
Wait. The Jets fired their coach early in the year. They lost again after. There was
Correct.
no new coach bump for the Jets. You're
No
saying
new
it's
coach.
different for the broken franchise that Dennis Allen killed.
I think, listen, I think Derek Carr feels bad, and hopefully he rallies the team. I think it's about like coming together. Guess who's not going to do that? Aaron Rodgers isn't going to sit down with everybody and be like, come on. He's going to like, you fucking suck. Get out of the building. I don't want you here.
It's true.
Derek Carr, emotional guy. Who I don't know who the interim coach is in the Saints, but I'm taking the Saints this week.
Maybe
New
Michael
coach
Thomas should come coach Derek Carr. See how that goes.
I'm betting another team that we haven't seen play because it's still Monday, but I'm taking Denver +9 at the Chiefs.
Wow.
The Chiefs are squeaking by, winning these games, barely covering these games.
Every
Also
week.
yesterday, 13-1 favorites yesterday. Blindly bet favorites 13-1.
So is the NFL kind of righting itself? We made it through 9 weeks, and now it's like we know who's good, and those are the good teams.
Yeah, the lines this week are kind of crazy. So that I'm taking 9.5 at the Chiefs. Casey hasn't been playing great football. I know Denver got blown out yesterday, but I think this is a division game. You're a division dog. Play them well. Play them tight. We'll see what happens. I need Bo to win a game to get me my 5.5 wins for the Denver Broncos this week.
Oh yes, it's personal. It's personal. For
It
you.
is personal.
Bo was not good yesterday. He caught a touchdown. I don't think
He
he threw
did.
for one.
He was
did catch
feisty
one.
catching that
He
touchdown.
was feisty.
Yeah.
Bo is really hit or miss. He's won some big games. He's looked terrible in some big games. I can't tell about Bo. Maybe that's how rookie quarterbacks are supposed to be.
I don't know. All right, we'll
Mike,
be
one
back.
team you didn't mention,
Yeah.
the Seattle Seahawks. Just want to ask, what is wrong with them?
I think the problem is Geno.
3
It's
picks.
not- It's not good.
You can't win games with 3 picks. You can't do it.
It's just like, they got a new coach. Things are changing. Pete's gone. It's like the whole culture shifted. They got to like settle in and figure out what's going on. Geno is not the answer. I don't even know if Sam Howell's the answer. At this
Whoa,
point,
we're a Sam Howell podcast.
at this point, just lose the fucking division and try to get a good draft pick.
Wow. Well,
That's
that's
where
my
I'm at.
team. The Dolphins are doing at 2-6.
They're definitely doing that. Yeah, and Tua's still running. Tua's out there running head first.
Crazy.
Did you see him? Did you see him dive, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah, he dove again.
I think he was trying to go for a first down, and they marked it a first down. Then they looked at it, and he was short of the first down because of how he dove.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not
good.
great.
Dolphins are not good.
All right, good show. We'll be back next week with a new president. Maybe we won some money off of it.
Maybe.
You might be. I don't know where you're going to be. Are you going to be in another country? We'll
Next
find out.
week, I'll be in the country. Not the
Okay.
next week.
Okay.
after
Good.
that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good show. See you.